Commander Jia Kim stood at the viewing window of the underwater base, watching the strange blue lights of the research lab reflect off her face. 20 years had passed since the Exalted had first appeared above Earth's major cities, broadcasting their message of contempt to humanity. She still remembered where she had been. A young lieutenant on the U.S. Reagan, watching the impossibly sleek alien ships hover silently above the waves. Still brooding, Commander. Dr. Topark appeared beside her, carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. Remembering, Gia corrected, accepting the drink. The day everything changed. The Mariana base stretched before them, a marvel of human engineering built in absolute secrecy. 4 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean, it housed 5,000 of Earth's brightest minds, all working on Project Ouroboros. The president wants an update, Gia said. The Exalted are coming back next week for their annual mockery session. Ta smiled. Then we have perfect timing. Come see. They walked through curved corridors carved from the ocean floor, passing labs where scientists worked around the clock. Everyone here knew the stakes. The future of humanity rested on their work. The main hangar was massive, hollowed out from the seafloor with technology developed specifically for this project. In its center floated what appeared to be a ship, but unlike any vessel humans had publicly built, the Hyperion didn't look finished. Parts of it seemed to fade in and out of visibility. Its hull wasn't solid metal, but appeared to be made of light and shadow woven together. At certain angles, it disappeared completely. Is it supposed to look like that? Jia asked. Yes, Tay replied with pride. It exists partially in our dimension, and partially in others. The Exalted think we can only perceive 3 dimensions plus time. They're wrong. The project had begun as a desperate gamble after the Exalted's first visit. While Earth's governments publicly pursued conventional space technology, mostly to keep the aliens believing humans were struggling to advance, the secret project took a different approach. Remember Dr. Su Li's breakthrough? Tai asked, gesturing to a woman supervising a team working on what looked like a pulsing crystal core. Jia nodded. 8 years ago, Dr. Li had discovered that human brains could perceive higher dimensions with proper training. The Exalted had 7-dimensional perception naturally, but they assumed humans were limited to 4 dimensions at most. They think they're so much better than us, Jia muttered. And that's their weakness, Tay replied. They don't hide their technology because they believe we can't understand it. But we've been watching and learning. Each time the Exalted ships performed their showing-off maneuvers in Earth's atmosphere, hidden sensors recorded everything. Data that seemed like nonsense to conventional science made perfect sense when viewed through Dr. Li's 7-dimensional mathematics. How close are we? Jia asked. We've completed 5 test jumps within the base, Ta said. The Hyperion can shift fully into the 7th dimension, travel through it, and return to normal space. Last week, we sent it from here to a facility under the Antarctic ice cap in under 3 seconds. Jia's eyes widened. That's over 10,000 kilometers. Distance works differently in higher dimensions, Tai explained. The mathematics suggest we could reach Alpha Centauri in under a minute. A technician approached them with a tablet. Dr. Park, the final stabilizers are calibrated. We're ready for a full crew test. Jia looked at the ship with new eyes. For 20 years, humanity had endured the Exalted's contempt. For 20 years, they'd been treated as primitive curiosities, barely worth acknowledging except as examples of evolutionary dead ends. When can we reveal it? She asked. That's your call, Commander, Tay replied. The ship is ready. The crew is trained. We can emerge whenever you give the order. Jia thought about the next Exalted visit. Their smug, shifting faces as they explained yet again why humans were unworthy of joining their galactic community. She thought about 20 years of mockery and humiliation. Let them come next week, she said with a smile. Let them start their speech, and then we'll show them exactly what humans are capable of. The Hyperion pulsed with blue energy, seemingly eager for its unveiling. Around it, The Earth's best pilots, scientists, and soldiers prepared for the mission that would change humanity's place in the universe forever. The Exalted had no idea what was waiting for them. The blue-white light from the Hyperion's core cast strange shadows across the preparation chamber. Dr. Topark checked the final readings on his tablet, barely believing what he saw. After 2 decades of work, countless failures, and 12 researchers lost in early experiments, they had done it. They had built something that shouldn't exist. 1 hour until final test, announced the automated voice. General Kang paced the observation deck above, watching the 12 crew members prepare. "You're certain this time?" he asked Ta through the comm. The question carried the weight of past disasters. 5 years ago, they had lost an entire test vessel when it entered the 7th dimension but couldn't return. The crew's last transmission still haunted Ta's dreams. "We see everything at once. It's beautiful. We can't." "I'm certain," Ta replied, forcing confidence into his voice. Dr. Lee's new equations work. The dimensional anchors will hold this time. Beside him, Dr. Su Lee made final adjustments to the fold generators, strange crystal structures that seemed to bend light around them. She had aged during this project, silver streaks now running through her once black hair. The work had cost her a marriage and relationship with her children, but she never complained. "The Exalted transmission fleet entered the solar system 10 minutes ago," she said without looking up. "They'll reach Earth in 6 hours for their annual display of superiority." Ta nodded grimly. Every year, the aliens came to remind humans of their place in the cosmic order. At the bottom, Captain Junho, the Hyperion's pilot, approached them. He was young, only 32, but his eyes held the intensity of someone who understood the mission's importance. "My team is ready," he said. "We've run the simulation 500 times. If the ship functions as designed, we can execute the emergence protocol directly above the UN building during the Exalted address." Tai studied the 7 crew members visible through the preparation room window. Each wore a specially designed suit that would protect them during dimensional transition. Each had volunteered knowing that, despite all precautions, they might never return. The president just gave final authorization. General Kang announced, joining them on the main floor. "Operation Ouroboros is greenlit." The name had been Su's idea. The ancient symbol of a serpent eating its own tail represented how they would bend reality back upon itself, creating shortcuts through the higher dimensions. "Beginning pre-launch sequence," Tay announced. The hangar's massive water doors opened above them. 4 kilometers of ocean pressed down, held back by force fields developed during the project. The Hyperion didn't need conventional launching. It would simply fold space around itself. But the team wanted clear water above for the initial dimensional jump. The 12 crew members boarded the vessel. It looked incomplete to normal eyes, parts of it seeming to fade in and out of existence as it partially occupied multiple dimensional states simultaneously. "I still don't understand how you solved the perception problem," General Kang said, watching the ship through special glasses that helped visualize its full structure. "We didn't, exactly," Su explained. "The human brain can't fully process 7-dimensional objects, so we designed the ship to partially exist in our normal space while extending tendrils into higher dimensions. The onboard computer handles the translations the human mind can't manage." As the final minutes counted down, Ta felt a moment of doubt. What if the Exalted were right? What if humans were simply not meant to understand these higher principles? "Stop it," Su said, reading his expression. 20 years ago, they laughed at us, said we couldn't grasp even basic dimensional theory. Now look. She gestured at the Hyperion, its impossible shape hovering ready for launch. Captain Jun's voice came through the speakers. "All systems green. Crew secured. Fold generators at optimal temperature. Requesting final authorization." Tay took a deep breath and exchanged looks with Su and General Kang. In this moment, they carried humanity's future in their decision. "Authorized," Ta said firmly. "Make history, Captain." The Hyperion's core flared brilliantly. For a split second, the ship seemed to expand in impossible directions, stretching in ways that hurt the eyes to witness. Then, with a silent flash that somehow felt loud, it vanished. On the monitors, sensors tracked its progress through dimensions humans weren't meant to perceive. 1 minute passed. 2. 3. Signal received. A technician shouted. They've reached the Antarctic facility. Transition successful. The control room erupted in cheers. Tai and Sue embraced. 20 years of struggle culminating in this moment of triumph. Prepare for retrieval, General Kang ordered. And then, ready the ship for its public debut. His weathered face broke into a rare smile. I want to see those smug aliens when they realize what we've accomplished. The Hyperion was coming home, and soon, humanity would show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. The Grand Hall of the United Nations fell silent as the exalted representative appeared on the massive screen. Unlike previous years when they sent lower-ranking officials, today the High Commander himself addressed Earth. His form shifted between solid and light, his 7 eyes blinking in different patterns that human brains struggle to process. Greetings, humans, the High Commander said, his voice translated into perfect English that somehow still carried a tone of boredom. Another cycle has passed. As is our custom, we have come to evaluate your progress. In the front row, UN Secretary-General Choi sat stone-faced. Beside him, world leaders maintained careful diplomatic expressions, despite the humiliation they endured year after year. We have reviewed your recent technological achievements, continued the High Commander. Your quantum computing advances are adequate. Your fusion experiments are progressing, though still inefficient by our standards. The massive exalted ship hovered above New York, its hull shimmering with colors humans couldn't name. Similar vessels positioned themselves above London, Beijing, Moscow, and Tokyo, a show of force disguised as a diplomatic visit. However, the alien's voice turned particularly condescending. Your attempts at improving your propulsion technology remain quaint. At your current rate of development, you might reach neighboring star systems in, perhaps another millennium. The other exalted visible in the background of the transmission made that strange harmonic laughing sound, a sound humans had learned to hate. Secretary-General Choi glanced at his secure phone. A single message had appeared. Now, deep beneath the Mariana Trench, Commander Jug Kim settled into the captain's chair of the Hyperion. Around her, the elite crew monitored systems that defied conventional physics. All-dimensional fold generators at maximum power, reported Dr. Su Lee from the science station. Coordinates locked on UN headquarters airspace. Jia took a deep breath. Begin the emergence sequence. The Hyperion's core pulsed as the ship phased partly out of normal reality. Through special viewing ports, the crew watched as the dimensional fabric around them twisted and rippled. Fold integrity at 100%, called Navigator Min. 7th dimensional corridor stable. Jia felt a strange sensation, as if her body existed in multiple places simultaneously. The ship's protective fields kept the crew safe from the mind-breaking effects of higher dimensional travel, but they could still feel the strangeness of it. Emergence in 3, 2, 1. Dr. Lee counted down. Above the United Nations building, while the exalted High Commander continued his speech, reality tore open. The tear wasn't violent. It looked more like silk parting gently, but it should have been impossible. Alarms blared across all exalted ships. The High Commander stopped mid-sentence, his 7 eyes widening in what humans recognized as shock. The Hyperion emerged from the tear, its impossible geometry now visible to everyone. Parts of it seemed to fade in and out of existence, trailing what looked like echoes of itself across dimensions humans couldn't perceive. On the UN screens, the High Commander's image shook as he barked orders in his native language. Behind him, exalted crew members rushed in obvious panic. "What is that?" the Secretary-General whispered, as stunned as everyone else in the room. The answer came when every screen, device, and communication system on Earth and aboard the exalted ships simultaneously received the same transmission. "This is Commander Jia Kim of Earth Vessel Hyperion." Jia's confident voice rang out as her image replaced the High Commanders on the UN's main screen. "Perhaps you'd like to reconsider your assessment of human potential." The Hyperion performed a slow, deliberate circuit around the exalted flagship. Sensors on the human ship detected exalted weapons powering up, then powering down as their targeting systems failed to lock onto something that existed partially outside normal spacetime. "Impossible." The High Commander's voice came through, clearly not intended for human ears. "Their technology is decades behind the minimum threshold for dimensional folding. They can't possibly." "But we did," Jia replied, cutting him off. "While you watched our public space programs, you missed what we were developing in secret." The Hyperion suddenly vanished, only to reappear seconds later orbiting the exalted ship above Beijing. Then it jumped to London, then Moscow, then Tokyo. Each transition happened faster than the exalted ships could react. In the UN hall, humans stood and cheered. 20 years of mockery and humiliation had just ended in 5 minutes of jaw-dropping demonstration. The High Commander's image reappeared on the UN screen, his shifting form now rigid with what humans interpreted as shock or fear. "How did you achieve this?" he demanded. Jia's smile was visible as she replied. "You told us we couldn't understand 7-dimensional physics. That inspired us to prove you wrong." The Hyperion reappeared above New York, now hovering between the UN building and the exalted flagship. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer to be underestimated. "I believe," Jia said calmly, "it's time for a new kind of conversation between our peoples." The exalted High Commander stood frozen on the bridge of his vessel. His 7 eyes blinked in different patterns as he tried to process what he was seeing. Beside him, the ship's sensor master frantically adjusted controls on a console that pulsed with strange lights. "I cannot track it properly, High Commander," the sensor master said, his voice breaking the stunned silence. "The human vessel exists partially outside our detection range." On their main viewing screen, the Hyperion hovered before them, parts of it seeming to fade in and out of reality. What should have been impossible was happening right before their eyes. "Scan their power signature," ordered the High Commander. "They must be using some primitive imitation of our technology. Perhaps they stole it." "That's where you're wrong," came Dr. Topark's voice over their communication system. The human scientist's face appeared on a side screen. "This is entirely our own development." The High Commander's color shifted to a deep purple, a sign of anger in his species. "Impossible," he sputtered. "You've barely mastered fission power. You can't possibly have developed dimensional fold technology. Your minds are too limited to grasp the concepts." "Yet here we are," Dr. Park replied calmly. "While you watched our public space programs with amusement, you failed to notice our theoretical research. You underestimated human ingenuity." On Earth, in the control room beneath the Mariana Trench, Dr. Park and Dr. Lee exchanged satisfied glances as they monitored the exchange. 20 years of work was paying off in ways they had only dreamed of. Back on the Hyperion, Commander Jia Kim gave the order. "Begin the demonstration sequence." The ship suddenly vanished from in front of the exalted flagship. Alarms blared across the alien vessel. "Where did they go?" demanded the High Commander. The answer came seconds later when the Hyperion appeared in orbit around Mars, visible to Earth telescopes and the exalted sensors alike. "Mars orbit achieved," Navigator Min reported to Jia. "All systems stable." "Next jump," Jia ordered. Before the exalted could react, the Hyperion vanished again, reappearing near Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Then it jumped to Saturn's rings, then to the edge of the solar system near Pluto. Each jump took only seconds, a journey that would take conventional ships years to complete. "Final jump," Jia said with a smile. "Let's really show them what we can do." The Hyperion vanished one last time, reappearing directly between all 5 exalted ships hovering above Earth's major cities. It was in 5 places simultaneously, the ship partially phased across multiple points in spacetime. On the UN screens, the High Commander's face showed an emotion humans had never seen before on an exalted. Fear. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No species has achieved multi-point phasing. Even we cannot." "That's not all." Commander Jia cut him off. "Dr. Park, if you would." Dr. Park pressed a sequence on his control panel. Around the world, hidden facilities activated their signals. In Antarctica, beneath the Sahara Desert, in the depths of the Amazon rainforest, under the mountains of Tibet, and in the heart of the Australian outback, massive hangar doors opened. 5 more ships rose into view, each identical to the Hyperion. Each one existing partially in the 7th dimension, connected to each other through higher reality in ways the Exalted thought impossible for humans to understand. "The Hyperion isn't just a ship," Jia explained as the Exalted watched in stunned silence. "It's a proof of concept, the first of many." In the UN hall, world leaders stood and applauded. Secretary General Choi wiped tears from his eyes. 20 years of secret cooperation between nations, 20 years of hiding their true progress, had culminated in this moment of triumph. "Our understanding of dimensional physics may be recent," Jia continued, her voice carrying to every corner of Earth and across all Exalted communications, "but we've already surpassed your capabilities in this area. The question is, what else have you underestimated about us?" The 5 Exalted ships hung motionless above Earth. For the first time in recorded history, the Exalted were silent. In that silence, Dr. Sully allowed herself a small smile. She thought of all the scientists who had worked day and night for this moment, of those who hadn't lived to see it. She thought of the early test pilots lost to the strange currents of the 7th dimension. Their sacrifices had not been in vain. "What happens now?" General Kang asked over the secured channel from the Mariana base. Commander Jia looked at the frozen image of the High Commander on her screen. "Now," she said, "we negotiate as equals." 6 months after the Hyperion revealed itself to the world, Admiral Jia Kim stood at the entrance to the Great Hall of the Galactic Confederation. The massive doors towered 30 meters high, carved from stone that wasn't quite stone, shimmering with colors that shifted as she watched. She straightened her formal uniform and took a deep breath. "Nervous?" asked Dr. Ta Park beside her. "A little," she admitted. "We've come a long way from hiding under the ocean." The human delegation consisted of 12 representatives, the same number as the first Hyperion crew. Dr. Park and Dr. Sully were there for their scientific brilliance. General Kang represented Earth's combined defense forces. Secretary General Choi led the political contingent, and Admiral Kim, as the face of humanity's breakthrough moment, served as chief diplomat. "The Confederation Council will receive Earth's delegation now," announced a tall, crystalline being that served as the hall's keeper. The doors swung open without a sound. Inside, the great hall stretched farther than seemed possible, its ceiling lost in misty light above. Representatives from 500 worlds sat in rising tiers around a central speaking platform. Some looked almost human. Others defied description. Beings of pure energy, collections of floating orbs, creatures with too many limbs or eyes. And in the highest tier sat the 7 exalted high commanders, their luminescent forms watching the humans enter. "I never thought I'd see this day," whispered Dr. Lee as they walked forward. Neither had the rest of the galaxy. News of humanity's dimensional breakthrough had spread faster than light through the Confederation. A species jumping from basic space travel to 7th dimensional folding in just 2 decades was unprecedented. The new exalted ambassador met them at the speaking platform. Unlike the previous representatives who had visited Earth, this one's manner was respectful, even warm. "On behalf of the 500 worlds of the Galactic Confederation, I formally welcome Earth to our assembly," the ambassador announced, his voice resonating through the hall. "Humanity has demonstrated an exceptional capacity for lateral thinking. Your species approached dimensional physics from an angle our civilizations never considered. Admiral Kim stepped forward to address the assembly. She had practiced this speech for weeks, but looking out at the gathered representatives of ancient civilizations, she set aside her prepared remarks. "Thank you for this welcome," she began simply. "For 20 years, humans were told we were too primitive to join you. We were mocked and dismissed, but that underestimation became our greatest advantage." She gestured to the human delegation. "We bring more than just seventh-dimensional travel. Humans have always been underestimated, by nature, by circumstance, and now by you. Our greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our adaptability, our creativity when faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges." Dr. Park stepped forward next, activating a small device that projected a complex mathematical equation into the air above them. "The mathematics we developed for the Hyperion has applications beyond travel," he explained. "It suggests solutions for energy generation, matter manipulation, even healing technologies that operate across dimensional boundaries." As he spoke, representatives from dozens of worlds leaned forward with obvious interest. Several began taking notes. The formal ceremony continued for hours, with representatives from key Confederation worlds offering welcomes. Earth was assigned a permanent section in the Great Hall, an embassy complex on the Confederation capital world, and trading rights with all member species. As the proceedings concluded, Jia noticed the exalted High Commander who had once mocked Earth approaching their group. The other delegates stepped aside, leaving her to speak with him alone. "Admiral Kim," he said, his voice much humbler than she remembered, "I wish to offer a personal apology for my past treatment of your species." Jia nodded but said nothing. "We've existed for 50,000 years without significant innovation," he confessed. "Our civilization reached such heights that we stopped looking for new paths. Perhaps we needed someone to challenge our assumptions. Perhaps we needed you." "The past is behind us," Jia replied diplomatically. "We look forward to what we can build together." Later, as the human delegation boarded the Hyperion for the journey home, a trip that would take mere minutes thanks to their dimensional drives, Dr. Lee found Jia staring out a viewport at the Confederation capital world below. "What are you thinking about, Admiral?" she asked. Jia smiled. 20 years ago, they laughed at us. Now they're asking to learn from us." Dr. Park joined them, his eyes bright with excitement. "The Regelians want our help redesigning their propulsion systems. The Arcturians are interested in our dimensional mathematics, and the Exalted, they've invited us to teach at their science academy." The Hyperion's engines hummed as the ship prepared to enter the seventh dimension. "The mockery is over," General Kang said as he joined them at the viewport. "A new era has begun." As Earth came into view through the dimensional window, their home planet now respected throughout the galaxy, Jia thought of all the humans who had worked in secret for 2 decades, believing in a future where humanity would stand tall among the stars. That future had arrived, and it was just the beginning.